welcome back to my channel. In this session, I'm gonna talk about some important arguments such as info, values, columns, and keys. Let's jump in. As you remember, in the previous session, we talked about data frames, series, and indexes. In this session, I'm gonna talk about some critical arguments such as info, values, columns, and keys, which are frequently used when we deal with data frames. Okay. At first, I imported some important libraries. I run it, and then I go to import a data frame as a CSV. I said pandas.read CSV. And then I need to pass the address. The CSV file is located as my code, so I don't need to give the full address, just the name is enough. And then I run my df1. As you can see, this is the weather CSV table with 14 columns and about 16,000 rows. Also, I want to create a series, a sample series, for example, S1 pandas.series, and I created from array 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I printed S1. Okay. Let's talk about info. What is info? As you know, info is, of course, abbreviation of information. And if I said df1.info and I use a parenthesis, I get some information about a data frame. As you can see, the range index, data columns number, for example, 14 columns, the name of our columns, also the number of non-value, and also the number of non-null value, and the d-types. Also here you can find out about the number of, for example, float, integer, and objected. As you can see, the memory usage is 1.8 megabyte for this data frame. What about the series? If I said S1 info, as you can see, I get an error because the series doesn't have information attributes. Let's talk about the values. If I said df1.values and then I run it, I get all values and data frame, and each of them represent each row. For example, if I get the first row, I use a 0 index, and as you can see, I get the first row of my table's value. We can check it here. If I print df1, for example, here the first row is a station city, for example, Birmingham, and you can see the station city Birmingham as well. So I pass the index of my row and I get all the values of that. What about the series? If I said series values, I get all values of my series. Also, I can pass the indexes number, for example, index number 2, and I get the specific value of this index. What about the columns? If I said df1.columns, I get all name of my columns here. And also, if I pass the index number of our columns, I can get a specific one. For example, if I want to get a date month, I should give that number 2 because it starts from 0, 0, 1, and 2. So I pass the 2, and as you can see, I get date month. But it has, for example, the other usage such as for I in, for example, df.columns. I don't know if len I plus to 10 is equal to 10, print for me the I has the len of 10, for example, character, something like this. And oops, we have an I here. As you can see, for example, date month has a length of 10 character here. What about the series? Sorry, I said s1 dot columns, and when I run it, I get an error because, as you know, the s1 series object doesn't have any columns, as we get this error. Okay. What about the keys? Sorry. If I said df1 dot keys without parentheses, I get a view of data frame, a very messy view of this kind of data frame. I don't recommend to use this one. It is better to just type a df1 because, for example, the date full is here, but the value comes before that, and it is a kind of messy to show us the structure of our data frame. But if we use a parenthesis, it works as a df1 dot columns, and I can get the name of our columns. What about s1 dot keys with parentheses? As you can see, it's different from the columns because s1 dot columns, as you remember, we get an error, but here it gives us the index range. It'll start from, for example, 0 and stop 4. Thank you very much. This is all you need to know about these parameters. If you have a question, please comment below, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up and like. Watch our next video, and bye bye.